Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session of GOAT project. Whether this is your first time tuning in or you have been with us before, welcome. This is the fifth session, and I am one of the artists talking, and I'm also doing the host. So maybe it will be a little shorter today. But my name is Martin, and I am the artistic director for an organization called Art Farm. And with me here today, I have Marco from Italy. You can say hello, Marco.
Hello to everybody. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, if you have any questions during our conversation and our talk, then you're very welcome to write them in the comment section on Facebook, and you can write both in Chinese, and then they will be translated to us, or in English, of course. Yeah, and then we'll be happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Marco, I was thinking, let's start with you. Can you introduce yourself a little more in depth so that viewers get to know you a little more?
Yes, of course. My name is Marco. As you already said, I come from Italy. And even though I am actually based in Denmark, I'm the director and the owner of a company called the Human Lab, which creates site-specific educational theater-based experiences in collaboration with many cultural and educational institutions all around Denmark, all around Scandinavia, and all around Europe. And today I've been invited here to talk a little bit more about a project which involved many theater schools here in Denmark, and which was about Commedia dell'arte, which I'm going to talk a little bit deeper afterwards. Is a very peculiar theater form that comes from Italy. So this is why I'm here.
Yeah, and I'm looking very much forward to hear more about Commedia dell'arte, which is a very old art form, as I understand.
Yes, we can say it.
So I will just talk a little more about myself. I'm, as I said, the artistic director of an organization called Art Farm, which is based in Denmark. We're doing art productions with focus on dance, and specifically kind of like art that pushes out to people so that we can get a new audience and create an interest for dance as the way of expressing yourself and telling stories, and with the hopes of getting more people to come in and watch stage performances with dance as the main subject. Yeah, and yeah, we have also been touring in Taiwan, actually, with one of our productions. So that has been really nice. But so our productions have been like in Denmark and Germany and Taiwan and Sweden. So there's still many places for us to go.
Well, this is a plus. You're almost a native in Taiwan, we can say. I've never been to Taiwan, unfortunately, but I would very much like to go there once in a while.
I think we will hook you on so you can join in.
I hope so. It would be very nice.
We bring one of your productions. Yeah, so you're going to talk about Commedia dell'arte, and I am going to give like a brief introduction to all you out there about the Danish art scene as with focus on dance as a, yeah, like really as a surface scratch, like what is there of professional companies, what is there of residency opportunities, and what are there of kind of freelance companies around in Denmark. Because I think that's interesting, because it's very different from country to country. You can probably also agree on that, right, Marco? Like how it is in Italy, I can imagine is very different from, I mean, just how you raise money for projects in Italy must be very different from how you do it in Denmark. Or what is your experience?
Yes, I can just imagine, because I have been in Denmark only for 3 years right now, and as much as I could understand, here in Denmark there is much there are much more opportunities for independent companies or for independent theaters to get some funds from the public sector. In Italy, this thing is not that much developed. Well, we should also say that Italy is a much bigger and wider country than Denmark, but still, what I really appreciate here in Denmark is this closeness to the public sector, to the public opportunities which are offered to independent artists to express themselves or to develop their own productions.
Yeah, I just had a little thing in the chat, so I just got a little diverted. Just give me a second. Yeah, that any video links that we share here, we can also, if they are online, we can also share in this chat box in Facebook. So we will do our best to make that happen. Yeah. I will move on with a little beautiful slideshow that I'm very eager to show you guys out there. I hope you can see it now. Can you see it, Marco? Then.
No, I don't see it
at
actually.
The moment. It's because I need to press share. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
There we go, right?
Here we are. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, the Danish art scene with focus on dance. So I think it's good just for all you viewers out there to know, like, Denmark, you just said, Marco, that it's that Italy is much bigger, because Denmark is indeed a small country, but it has a very strong public sector, which means like the states can often go in and support a freelance artist with quite good funds, like a good amount of funds, so you can actually live like a healthy financial lifestyle as a freelance artist.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because in the old days Denmark was a huge kingdom. Denmark had Greenland, had Norway, had Sweden, so all Scandinavia was under the Danish kingdom, as far as I could understand. But and the influence you can still see the influence of the Danish kingdom in the other Scandinavian countries. But yeah, that's incredible that now is such a small country, but still with such a developed public sector, as you were saying.
Yeah, I also think that the fact that it's actually small is somehow making because the stronger the public sector is, in order for it to work, I feel the trust between the people and the public sector need to be stronger also. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
By that? And there, I think it's an advantage. Like this, when the country is not too big, then the link or the distance between the people and the public sector is much shorter, and therefore the trust is more there, I believe. But yeah, so let's see. We have, of course, Copenhagen. I will be talking a little bit about Copenhagen. That's our capital. So you can see we're not so many people, because there's 1.3 million people in Copenhagen. And in Copenhagen in Denmark, we have like 3 full-time dance companies, modern dance companies, and 2 of them are in Copenhagen. Then I'm going to talk a bit about Aarhus, because that's where I have been mostly connected to as a freelance artist, and that's also where this organization that I run is located. And what about you, Marco? You also know Aarhus quite well. I know you had an artist talk there, for instance.
Yes, exactly, because that's also because I live quite close to Aarhus. I live in a smaller city called Horsens, where our company is also based, and it is only 30 minutes by car. So yeah, I know Aarhus very well, and that's a wonderful city. I love it very much.
And then lastly, I will talk about a little city called Holstebro, which is very small, but that is where one of these dance companies are, and that is why we're going to talk about that. So yeah, professional dance companies, there we have 3 companies, as I just said. Like the first one and the biggest one, that is the one called Danish Dance Theater, or in Danish Dansk Danseteater. That was established all the way back in 1981, and that is so it's not only the biggest, but it's also the oldest. It's a major like touring company, and it's located at the opera in Copenhagen. That is where they are housed. Yeah, and their vision, I mean, the ballet directors of the artistic directors of this company are from, as far as I know, they have like a classical background, and their vision is kind of to unite the classical artworks with the more modern artworks. And yeah, that is actually what I have about them. The next one, that is by far the most abstract company there is, that is called Corpus. And Corpus Dance Company, that is under the Royal Ballet, and they are also at the in the same house as the Royal Ballet, which is the Royal Theater in Copenhagen. And it was founded in 2012 as an experimentarium where they could kind of see how dance could really be used in different contexts, both with music and with stage. And yeah, and then it kind of moved a little bit more into being a contemporary company of the Royal Ballet in 2017. So from 12 to 17, very experimental based, and it's still very experimental based, but now it's more seen as a contemporary company. And it's very interesting because the way they make the production, which is very different from the two other companies I'm going to talk about, that is that they often put the audience in the center of the stage. So they create the piece around the audience. So an audience is very often standing in the space. And
that's
then
very
they're
interesting.
using. Yeah, it's super interesting. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any of it, but I know one of my friends, he had, and they use all these techniques of the stage, also vibration and smoke and the dancers to create what do you say, like an experience, like a physical experience for the audience. That's actually
it is very interesting because this is something that theater used to do very often, just to change the position of the audience in order to create new kind of experiences. And I don't know what you think, but it is very interesting to me to to see how, in a way, dancers want to go to the theater side and the opposite, how actors want to go to the dance side. So it is very interesting to see how the two opposites, in a way, just look for each other, going in a very interdisciplinary direction. I don't know if you feel the same, but to me, as actor, in any case, it's very clear, this tendency.
No, I also think as a dancer, if I was dancing in any companies where I am right now, I think that this corpus is super interesting, because I spoke with the artistic director actually as part of the research here. I mean, I wrote with him per mail, asking like how they find the dancers for their projects, and they said that they are found through auditions, but also like choreographers' recommendation, because they are often searching for very specific profiles, and in the creation of these productions, they need to be very co-creative. I mean, so they are also, the dancers are not only dancing what they are told to dance, but they are also taking a big part of the creation process. And then they have to be very open-minded and willing to like maybe do something that is not seen as dance in a traditional way, because they are all the time experiencing with these new forms of dance, and it could be like in collaboration with a musician, for instance, where there is a dancer that has to like dance with the musician up. What do I know? But
this is also what the artistic director of a dance company in Italy said to me, because they were making many auditions, not only for dancers, but also for actors. And she said to me that in many cases, they prefer actors who are skilled in movement rather than a professional dancer or ballet dancer that have a very strong technique, that just can throw their legs in back to their bag. But because she said to me that actors in that way are much more open than most of the dancers to do something that is not strictly dance, but it's still movement, but it can be open to other fields. So this is, I just report what she said to me, that I thought it was, that's an interesting point.
And just to kind of hook on to that, here with this corpus company, you also have to be willing to work with your voice, for instance, or dialogue. So it is like a general thing, I would say, in like contemporary art, that you're more and more like these, like acting and dance are more intertwining, I guess it's called in English. I'm not really sure. There you can see, dear audience, we are also not native English speakers. So yeah, give us some questions if you have any, and we'll be happy to answer them, also about what we're discussing right now. Yeah. I will just go back to the screen, because I am actually in the middle of getting to the last company here, which is that is a link, which I will see if I can post a little later, which is actually just saying all the productions from Corpus since like 2019, and then it goes back in time as you scroll down here, and that can be an interesting page to check out if you want to kind of have an inside look at the different productions that they have done. You can see if you scroll down, then it comes like 16, 17 and so on. So you scroll back in time. Then they've also done here, that's something else. Yeah. So the last company, that is Black Box Dance Company, and that is the one in this small city that I was showing you called Holstebro, which is all the way on the west coast of Denmark. It was founded in 2013, and I mean it's very professional, but it focuses especially on dancers that are in the early stages of their professional career, who have like taken an education and are first coming out. And I have a video that I want to show about them. So let's get the video talking, because it's a very good introduction video.
When I'm on stage, I'm always looking for that connection with the audience. I like to meet the audience if I can, through the dark. I like to meet their eyes.
Black Box Dance Company is a contemporary dance company consisting of some of the most talented professional contemporary dancers from all over the world. Based in the culturally vibrant Danish town of Holstebro, the company works with a vast variety of exceptional choreographers and artists, creating and performing unique, relevant and moving pieces in altering formats.
Well, it started in 2013. We had the regional theatre since 2010, and we wanted to have a more permanent residence here in Holstebro and more commitment to the town, and that's why we started the dance company at that time.
Since its creation, the company has been on a steep curve of success and is today the third largest professional dance company in Denmark and the only one located outside of the Copenhagen region.
Sort of the essence in why it's such a fantastic company is that we are doing the high quality of work, whether we are in a small gymnastic hall or we are in big venues, and we'll try to give the same quality to the audience, the same experience of dance to everybody.
We work with different choreographers that have different approaches. One is really interested in improvisation, and other creators are more interested in concepts, or some is just exploring dance movement, set dance movement, or tasks. So you have to give yourself into these genres in the genre.
The reach out to the audience is a mix of interesting topics in society. It can be music, can be storytelling, more dramatic pieces. It can be very abstract pieces that's just built on the body language. They are all important and can be interesting if you get the right artist to perform them.
The dancers are all extraordinary dancers in the earlier years of their professional careers. Over 940 professional dancers applied at the last audition, from which there were only 4 available contracts. So to be a dancer at Black Box Dance Company, you have to be quite the dancer and have a strong and diverse skill set.
Well, strong dance technique, strong personality, integrity, improvisation skills, musicality is good, and to be able to be a group dancer together in group pieces, as well as being a highly estimated soloist. And of course, a good colleague, I find extremely important.
In one season, we both go touring internationally or nationally. We're busy, but in a good way. You experience a lot.
Yeah.
You're on the go.
We try to approach different creations at the same time, in the same period,
season,
in the same season.
With more than 2,000 successful shows around the world, a growing audience, and numerous recognitions both nationally and internationally for their performances, the future for Black Box Dance Company is bright.
More and more people come to us, ask, what are you doing next year, and so forth. So I think we have proven that we can perform in very, very high level, and from a tour perspective, we are getting much more out there.
I think Black Box Dance Company has a great future ahead. We have just started the journey, and there is a lot more to come.
Yes. I hope the sound was good enough for you.
Yeah, it was absolutely perfect.
Great. Well, that is to sum up talk about the companies. I will just really quick also go around the what is called like the residency opportunities in Aarhus, and then we will move on to you. Is that okay with you, Martin?
Absolutely, but take your time.
Thank you. I will just share my screen one last time here. Let's see if I can find it again. Just a moment.
By the way, it's always funny to hear two Italians speaking English, because one of the dancers was actually Italian, Marco Rizzi, and the way he spoke English is extremely recognizable. It's stronger than us. We cannot get rid of our accent, or our Italian accent, wherever we go. So it's absolutely impossible.
No, it's true. I mean, we also were working together with a dancer here from Italy, and he's also like, the Italian accent. It just sticks. Like there's nothing more to be said about that. But it's also nice. It's recognizable. However, I also find I can recognize Danish accent quite well.
Well, of course, for your point of view, yes, I can imagine, but still, the Italian accent, I think, is something universally recognizable when we speak English, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. It is somewhat stronger. So let me see now. We come to the residency part from my side, because in Aarhus there is. Do you see the screen, Marco?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do.
Because in Aarhus there is Aarhus is like the second largest city of Denmark, and you say like a typical saying in Denmark is that Copenhagen, that is the world's smallest city, and Aarhus, that is the world's largest village, because it just has this side where it starts to become a city. So that is good. I think that's very good for the freelance artistic community, because you feel this community, the network there is very close together, and one of the vibrant theaters there, that is called Bora.dk, and that used to be an old like gym, like school gym actually, which were rebuilt into two black box stages, one larger one and one smaller one, and there they present all sorts of companies, both physical theater, but also dance, like Hoffe Schächter has been there, just to mention some big name, and they are right now having a residency center, which for all the people listening out there, they are also having like a residency collaboration with Kaohsiung, actually, in Taiwan. So you can apply. You can apply here as a Danish artist. You can apply to also get a residency in Taiwan. But you can also apply as a foreign artist to come to Aarhus and do your research here, and this I will I will link to it once I'm wait, I sent the link actually here. That should be possible. Just give me a moment. Here. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Let me just see. I took it down. I think that's that should improve something. Anyway. So yeah, there is Bor, which is one place, and then there is let me see here, open scene, which is open stage. The difference between these two opportunities is that open stage is really taking care of productions in their early phases. So if you want to apply with some production that is really in the very experimental phase where you don't really know what it is, but you have a strong theme, then open scene is a very good place to apply. And they also have an English application site here, which I will also post in the chat here as soon as I get the chat open. So the difference between Bor and which screen are you actually seeing, Marco? Do you see the?
I'm seeing your desktop right now.
Okay, wait. I think I'm sharing the wrong screen actually. Right, now you should see the right one.
Yes.
Do you see this one? Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that is the and then there are performing arts platform, which I think is very interesting just briefly to talk about, because there is that performing arts platform. That was where you were talking, Marco, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Performing arts platform is really the place that kind of bring all the freelance artists together in Aarhus and kind of keeping making everybody get a finger on the beat of the cultural life in Aarhus. And I just have one video I want to share in that context, and that's because every Wednesday they have this morning briefing, which is what you were talking at.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just trying to see if the screen will.
It is very cozy because we have a breakfast all together while we listen to other people presenting the project.
Yes, it's like the essence of dansk hygge, of Danish coziness. So let's see this 30 seconds presentation. What is interesting about that is now let me just see. I have like a little brain freeze, but that is definitely where you are that's where you've been talking. And what is interesting about that is they also used to stream it live on Facebook, these talks, so you can actually follow along. And even before Corona, that means you can also sit and watch it at home wherever you are in the world, audience out there. And I mean, right now they are not doing it because they cannot gather people in the small room. That would be not legal and not very clever, but even
very dangerous.
Even on the other side of this, they will probably continue streaming it, and that was a very nice service. So that is actually what I want to talk about for now. Yeah. So Marco, unless you have something for me, then I think we should move on to what you have to share with us, because you have a very big knowledge about Commedia dell'arte. And
I love your R. You are just wonderfully prepared to pronounce Commedia dell'arte with the right R. So I'm really impressed. It's not it's not usual to make this kind of preparation. Yeah, but thank you very much, Martin, for your presentation. Was really interesting, and was interesting to speak with you to share some thought about the contamination between dance and theater. So thank you very much. And if I'm allowed to go on my topic, I would like to present a little historical overview, because that's actually not a little bit boring, because it's always a good story to tell. But every time I speak about Commedia dell'arte to an international audience, such as this one we are talking with, I have always to make a brief, I promise, historical interview, because I don't mean to lecture anybody, and because
I think also that's very important for especially something with such a long, strong history as Commedia dell'arte.
Yeah, but of course, there are many people who might not know what Commedia dell'arte is, so it's always fine. So I can start by saying that Commedia dell'arte is the best known Italian mask theater tradition, and but apart from that, Commedia dell'arte is globally recognized as a social, economic, and artistic revolution, which affected almost all the Western world. And why do I say it? Because Commedia dell'arte was originated in the 16th century in Italy. And why can I say that? Because there is a precise event that testifies it. And in every kind of story, we have to go back once upon a time in Italy, in Padova, which is a town in the northeast of Italy, close to Venice, just to give some geographical orientation. We were on the 25th of February, 1545. And there was a group of people who met in front of a lawyer because they wanted to sign a contract. They wanted to sign a contract in order to establish a theater company which worked for money. And this is the most important detail, because nowadays to establish a theater company who works for money is actually normal. I just sell my own production in exchange for the ticket, in exchange for money. But
which is actually not that easy.
But yeah, exactly. But still, this is how it is supposed to work. But still,
yes, exactly.
Before that time, theater and the performance was not considered a proper job, because theater was only performed by the priests as a form of religious representations, or by noble people as a hobby. But the lower classes, the normal people, the people from the folk, were excluded from it. And this is why those people from the lower classes said, you know what, we want to become professional actors. And they didn't know at that time. But with Padova's contract, it was established the first professional theater company in the world. And this was a big revolution. It was a huge wave which affected all the world because it created the theater system that we know nowadays. And after that contract, the performer became a recognized job. The performer was paid for its work.
What was the year you said that was established again?
Yeah, 1545.
1545.
Yeah, we are in the Renaissance period.
Yeah.
And why do I say also artistic revolution? This is due to the use of masks. I have some of them here with me that I would like to show you, like this one. You can see them. They are very colorful and grotesque also. They have big noses and round eyes. I have also another one here which has a totally different color. This is white. So they can catch the attention very easily. And those masks were...
I don't know, either I'm out or... Okay, you're back. You were just lacking for a moment for me.
Okay, sorry.
From my side or if it was your side. Can you show me the second mask again?
Yeah, of course.
In white.
This one.
Yeah.
This is very particular.
Yeah, it reminds me, I mean, it reminds me a little bit about this in Venezia. They have this carnival, which is very big, I know.
Exactly my point. Because those kind of masks became so popular that they became the symbol of the carnival. They became so popular worldwide that some of them, even though many people may not know what Commedia dell'arte is, what was the phenomenon about, and so on, I bet that almost all the people, if I say the name Arlecchino, everybody has a precise image about him. I just share with you an image of him, which is not this one. This was supposed to be a surprise for later. But
that's
yeah,
okay.
But just because I shared this image, for example, Arlecchino, it is, I think, the most famous Commedia dell'arte mask in the world, but also Pantalone, which is this one.
Okay, and how do you define Pantalone? How do you define that this mask is called Pantalone? Is it the size or is it the nose?
Well, for example, Pantalone is very famous for these eyebrows. These are very typical. That states that he is a very old man. Because, for example, Pantalone is a very old man, very rich, but still very stingy, and often corruptive with mafia, of course. But what it is interesting is that these kind of masks inspired a lot of contemporary characters, even in the pop culture. For example, Pantalone made his way through the ocean and inspired a very popular character, the one I showed to you accidentally, that is this one.
I will, yes.
This is, can you see the similarities? Of course, on the right side, you can see the Commedia dell'arte mask, Pantalone, and on the left side, you can see Scrooge McDuck, but just look at them. Look at the colors. They are dressed in red and in black, but if you think about Scrooge McDuck's character, he is an old man, very rich, very stingy, so they match perfectly. And this is really astonishing because Pantalone was a character created in the 16th century in Italy, and Scrooge McDuck was created in the 19th century in America. So it is incredible. But this is also because one other thing, because each one of Commedia dell'arte masks embodies a specific character and specific characteristics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
So
for
it's
example,
very easy to
exactly. So
know
they
who
embodies,
that person.
yes, they embodies, for example, the lowest human instincts. So for example, sex, violence, hunger, hatred, and so on. And these elements, which are human elements, they are universal. So we can say that each one of these characters is universally recognizable. So there is the old and the young, the poor and the rich, the master and the servant, and so on. And as we are in Taiwan, I made some homeworks, I made some research just to make some comparison that also our audience can understand. As far as I could read, Commedia dell'arte's character's role is really similar to Taiwanese opera's characters.
Okay.
So as far as I could read, in the Taiwanese opera, there are characters which are really fixed, that are universal. So unfortunately, I'm not able to pronounce correctly their name in Taiwanese, but still, I was able to understand that there is, for example, the old man, there is the young and poor lady, there is the young boy, and so on. So these can be the similarities between the two cultures. And what more? Yes, and in order to just give one more example of how the typical Commedia dell'arte should like, I would like to show you a short video which is taken from a very popular Commedia dell'arte play directed by Giorgio Strehler, which was one of the most important Italian directors of the modern times. And just go.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
The YouTube video. Of course, just a little disclaimer. You will not able to understand all the words, because first they are playing in Italian, but they are playing in an Italian dialect. So also for some people, for some Italian people, it's difficult to understand. So, but don't worry, because you, in some way, you will be able to understand what's going on stage.
Questo niembodino all'inglese. A chi mano? Al vostro padrone, voglio che andare in canalato con una carriola di che si la parpulenta, se fosse pulenta sarebbe una gran bella cosa. Assaggiamo un pochino. Non è polenta, le meglio della pulenta! Arlecchino! Sono qua, una roba così destra, roba a pressione bene. Vieni a servire! Arlecchino! Ma dove diavolo è costui? Sono qua, dove sei? Dove ti perdi? Mi era torno dei piatti. Di altro da mangiare? Adesso va la vera. Spicciati che poi voglio riposare. No, Beatrice! Eccomi l'arrostone! Presto il pronto! Oh, mastro, furia, subito! La nostra me lo porta Cristo! Eccola tutta! Andiamoci! Vai, entriamolo presto! Ciapè!
So this was, no, I don't want to play that. This is Dario Fo, which is interesting, but this is another story, how they say. And yeah, this was just to show you how the typical Commedia dell'arte should look like. So there is absolutely no scenography. Everything is made by a strong physical expressivity. There are a lot of jumps. There is a lot of amplification of the gestures. So it is very it has a very vibrant and very strong physical expressivity. And so yes, this was one. And of course, the main character was Arlecchino, as we were saying that Arlecchino is the the best known Commedia dell'arte's character.
Ah, Arlecchino, that's the guy in English, I think they call him Harlequin.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Now I
And
recognize him.
about Arlecchino, you said one very important and right thing before. You mentioned the carnival. And the carnival is actually really important in Commedia dell'arte's world, because all Commedia dell'arte's masks come actually from the carnival tradition, and all of them are very colorful and grotesque, as you saw. They can be very easily like demons or devils, for example. And if we mention Arlecchino, Arlecchino comes from Hellekin, which contains the word hell inside. And if we look, for example, at Arlecchino's masks, this one, you can see here this red dot. And this is what remains of a cutten horn, just to testify that Arlecchino comes directly from hell. So it has a very devil soul inside.
So he's fun in a kind of mean way.
Yeah, exactly. He loves to make a lot of bad jokes. He loves to fool, to make fun of his masters and so on. And this is also a very important element in Commedia dell'arte, because as it was an artistic expression which came from the lower classes, the art and the theater was the only place in which the lower classes could just fool their masters, could make fun of them. So it was just the only way in which they can just rebel against their masters and express all their discomfort or all the dangers in their life and so on. So this is also why it was a huge social movement, a huge social revolution in that way.
There is also a saying that it's always okay, or it's very fun when you we call it when you kick up, meaning like when you make fun of people that are higher in the status than you are, then it's somehow legitimate, at least in Danish culture. But I can imagine that also maybe that comes from that culture, that it kind of like created the path for making acceptable to make fun of people higher in the hierarchy than.
Well, I hope so in any case, because this is a very important point in our process, because you mentioned rightly Denmark, because this sort of social revolution had a precise how can I say it, because it comes Danish now, it has a precise function in Italy, because in Italy at that time the social classes were extremely separated. So the higher classes, the noble people, had extremely huge power on the lower classes, and in some cases the lower classes were not even allowed to cross their eyes with them. So for example, a servant knew perfectly then his son, his grandson, their grandchildren, and so on, will be nothing more than servants. Because if you were born in a specific social class, you were sort of condemned for all your life to remain in the specific social class. But this is something that actually here in Denmark, as you said, it is okay, it is acceptable to just point the punch against the higher classes. And this was also the starting point for our project, the project I mentioned in the start, which was a project developed in collaboration with the Italian Institute of Culture here in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and which involved many different theater schools here in Denmark. Because we, as Italians, of course, feel more connected, feel more close to Commedia dell'arte tradition. And even though Commedia dell'arte has been studied all over the world, if you ask to Danish theater students, they know it as a phenomenon, as an interesting and social phenomenon. I mean, me and Anna, my partner, we're asking ourselves, but is such an old form of theater as Commedia dell'arte still able to communicate with the newest performers generation? Because we have been teaching for a long time Commedia dell'arte, the typical Commedia dell'arte, but apart from the how can I say it, the exercise of style, a part of learning how Arlecchino moves, how Pantalone moves, and so on, there was nothing that pointed to a re-elaboration of the style. So we felt this necessity of looking for something new in Commedia dell'arte's tradition. And this is why we proposed to the Italian Institute of Culture in Copenhagen and to Danish Theatre School to meet the Danish theater students and make them work on a specific method with masks, which we have been developing for a long time, and which is called points of pressure. I describe it very briefly, but the how can I say it? The point is that when you wear a mask, you receive, as actor or as a performer, you receive impulses for the movement from the mask. And so you, by letting these impulses go deeper and affect all the sections of your body, you can be able to develop a new and original form and an original body for each mask. And this is why when we met the students, we did not mention anything about the Commedia dell'arte's character iconography. When I say iconography, do you understand what I'm talking about? Or
no, actually, it's good that we get that elaborated. But I think after you have elaborated on iconography, then I suggest we take a little break after that. And then we can continue with these points of pressure afterwards. Will you be open?
Yeah, so, of course.
Perfectly. Let's hear iconography.
We call iconography the image, the way of each Commedia dell'arte's character moves or behaves, because each Commedia dell'arte's character has a precise way of movement and a precise way of behavior. Like you were saying before, Arlecchino loves to make many tricks and to fool the other people. Pantalone is very rich, but is very stingy, and it is an old man. So each one of those characters has a precise way of movement and a precise behavior that has been studied, that has been studied for decades and centuries.
And also just a certain body posture.
Yeah, exactly. But for this kind of work, for this kind of project, we didn't tell to the student anything about the iconography, because we didn't want them to be influenced by it. No. Because we wanted them to work as much freely as possible with those masks and find new and maybe unexpected way to use them. This was the core of our project with Danish schools.
That is a wonderful cliffhanger to take a break on, I would say. So for people watching, please write us your questions. If you have any, it can be anything. You can write us in Chinese, you can write us in English, and you just write in the comment section to this video. And we take 5 minutes break now, and then we will be back for the last part of Marco's introduction and to
Yeah,
answer
I'm going to show videos for the most, so I will not get the audience bored anymore with too many words.
Great. So tune in for more videos in 5 minutes. See you.
See you.
Let me just check if it has.
Are we offline?
Okay, welcome back. Just give me a moment. There we are. Welcome back to this our artist talk on this GOAT project. I am here with Marco from Italy, who is based in Denmark. And if you're just tuning in now, then you are in the middle of listening to Marco's interesting work with Commedia dell'arte, a very old art form that has been connected to the Danish culture and acting students, and that was kind of where we left before the break, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just say something to make an introduction to my next video, because I was saying that Commedia dell'arte, of course, is a very traditional form of theater born in Italy, and we, as Italians, feel very connected to its characters, its psychology also, and its dynamics. But when it comes to other cultures that are much far from the Italian culture, such as the Scandinavian one, such as the Danish one, so what does it happen? Maybe our hope, in any case, before starting this project, was that new and unexpected ways to use Commedia dell'arte masks could be created. And this was what we proposed to Danish students, to work as much freely as possible, also by improvising with the Commedia dell'arte masks, without giving them any background about the character's way of movement, about the character's psychology, about the character's names, anything of it, but just working with the impulses they could get from the mask, from the work with masks. And regarding this kind of work, I would like to share with you a short video of some masks exploration we did in some schools in Copenhagen this year. I'm just going to share the video. Is this one? Yes. Yes, it started.
Yes.
Here we were in Copenhagen working with the students from CISPA, Copenhagen International School of Performing Arts. And as you can see here the students are working on the first phase of the work, which is just meeting the mask. So they put the mask on and they are just feeling which kind of impulses the mask is communicating to them, and how they can interpret it. Yes, and how they can just get those kind of impulses go deeper into their bodies. And there are many different ways. For example, the one in the back with the white mask is taking a behavior. This girl is taking an emotional state, an emotional movement. He is still exploring the physicality of the impulses.
Yeah. Do you have possibility to turn up the volume of
yes.
the video? That is perfect.
Now they are interacting with each other, which is another step of the work.
So that's kind of step 2.
Yeah, we can say it.
Okay.
This is another school, Skuespiller School in Ophelia, still in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see this girl's work, because she's wearing the same mask as the guy before. And we could notice a certain tendency for this mask to just look for conflicts with the other characters. is another step. Improvising with the music. They are just going on developing the impulses of the mask and get them bigger and bigger by being inspired by the music. This is also another exercise which wants to bring the impulses to their extreme consequences.
Can you say again what was the task there?
Yes. Just let the video finish.
Yeah.
Otejas meskai.
Yes.
Great. So interesting.
This was, yeah, the last part was an exercise in which we asked to the students to bring those kind of impulses to the extreme consequences of its development. And this was such an interesting work because, as you can see, even though each student were developing his or her own original work on the mask, we, well, I mean me and my partner Anna could notice that even though they didn't know anything about the masks they were holding, in some way they caught still some elements that pertain to what we call the mask's soul. So for us it was kind of magic. It was kind of revelation, because even though they didn't know anything about their characters, they were still able, by working on their own work, to catch some important elements of those characters. And it was also so interesting to see the difference between two different people working on the same mask. And in that case, I would like to show you one last video, which is extremely interesting, I think. There is no audio in this video, it's just video. But as you can see, here there are two different people, the girl and the boy on the right, working on the same mask. And even though they are developing their own and original movements, they still have something in common, this kind of anxiety, this kind of speed of the movement, this kind of, I don't know, I would call it spell, or just, anxiety of this kind of character. And this is very interesting, because the one on the left was a Finnish girl, and the one on the right was a Danish boy. And they came from two different schools. So apparently, as far as we know, they didn't know each other. And in any case, they never worked with such a method as we proposed them to work with. So this opened, the video is finished. And this, of course, was really astonishing to us. And collaborating with a cognitive scientist from Aarhus University, we've developed a sort of theory. So we think that those kind of masks work on two different levels, a biological levels and a cultural level. So the biological level creates a biological response. So when you wear the mask, you have a biological response which is instinctual. You don't think about it, because the points of pressure just gives some very biological and clear impulses, but afterwards, those kind of biological impulses are re-elaborated in a very different way from one another, which depends on the cultural backgrounds, which depends on the language they're going to speak. So as you could see in the last video I show you, and this was very, very interesting for our point of view. And even though this entire process raised more questions than before, it raised also to us the will to continue this kind of project. Also because we could, sorry, I just finished. Also because we could see, it was a revelation. We were looking for this kind of magic. We could see that this form of theater can still communicate with the new generation of performers.
Yeah, and also both new generation, but also across cultures, like all the way to Denmark from
Exactly, because this kind of work can be proved by any kind of people from any kind of culture with any kind of cultural backgrounds, and this is what we are aiming to do, to make Commedia dell'arte get more and more contaminated with the meeting with so many different cultures. And this regarding this last point, I would like to just make a conclusion of my boring and so long speech with a provocation, because many things, we said that Commedia dell'arte is a tradition, and when you think about tradition, you think that a tradition must be something really fixed, must be something really immutable. But it is interesting
impossible
to know that,
to change.
Yeah,
Just
exactly,
so people know,
exactly.
Immutable means something that is impossible to change.
Exactly. But it is also interesting to note that tradition has a common root with another word, which is betrayal.
Okay,
Because,
I need that one again. Come again.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Tradition comes from a Latin word, which is tradere. And there is another word which also comes from the same Latin word, which is betrayal. And if you think about tradition and betrayal, they are two totally different meanings, two totally different words. But in some way, it could also mean that a tradition, in order to be kept alive, needs to be betrayed in some way. And this is what we're doing with the Commedia dell'arte. We are totally betraying it, just in order to save it from his loss.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because my take on this, like with that tradition and betrayal was the same, was more in the context before you elaborated. Then it was more like that sometimes you're betraying yourself, that the tradition is there. That was kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
But
of course. It was a little bit tricky, but I know. But to me, it is very interesting, and it is a sort of the core of our process. And I could see that there was a question. About
let's
it.
try to see. Is there? Let me see. Is it the one from Panda about the? Yeah. So Panda, she's asking, like, the traditional culture of many countries is facing the dilemma of being lost, and to you, she's asking. I would like to ask Commedia dell'arte if there is any, and is the government or the people watching such comedies frequently? Like, I think the question is if the Commedia dell'arte first of all has an audience nowadays. either
Well,
in Italy
in Italy,
or Denmark?
in Italy, yes, because in Italy, Commedia dell'arte is a big deal. Everybody knows
Okay.
Commedia dell'arte. So there are still some companies that are going on performing Commedia dell'arte's shows and plays. And no, I would say there is no concrete action in preserving Commedia dell'arte. Also because in Italy, we don't have any kind of problem in preserving old stuff. We have the opposite problem. We have a problem in the innovation of new things. But in Italy, we have such a huge amount of old things. I mean, buildings. I mean, church. I mean, literature and so on, that we have no problem at all in preserving them. And we have the opposite problem, unfortunately. There is no innovation.
Kind of like, that's funny because there is another question here from Lynn, where she's asking if there is any difference between the atmosphere of Danish and German dance companies. And I can try to take on that. I have worked in a German company, and many companies, like they are shaped by the artistic director of the company. So in the instance of Danish Dance Theatre, that has been like first a Danish artistic director, and afterwards a Swedish one who is present, and the same goes for Black Buck Dance Company. That's also a Swedish director. So I mean, I think the real difference in the dance companies, if I should really point one thing out, then I think it's the focus on like work, not conditions, but more like the work atmosphere inside of the company, because all companies, they often have people coming together from all over the world. So it's like a global culture that is inside of this little company. And I think in Denmark, there is kind of a focus point on this global culture to kind of address this issue, that people are coming from all over the world. And for some people, it's normal when you meet at 8, then you come at 8:30, and then you also can stay half an hour longer, even though that your work is actually done. And that is a simple example. It could also be like, what is it okay the boss do? So that is kind of my answer to that question. Yeah, thank you very much for your question, then. And also for you, Panda, for the question about commedia.
Yeah, it was so interesting.
I also want to address a little bit, there is this, there's also asked this about like that many countries are facing the dilemma of being lost, like many
traditional culture of many cultures.
Yeah, countries. I mean, this is funny because I experienced that in the Danish culture, that I feel a little bit lost as a Danish person, like with the traditional, like we don't have any, to me, we have the classical ballet as dance history, but otherwise like the movement culture of Denmark is for me a bit difficult to discover. I don't know if you feel the same way, because we're very focused on the contemporary in Denmark.
Well, but
what do you think about that?
I don't see it as a minus in any way, because as I told you, in Italy we have the opposite problem. We see too much at our tradition and our culture instead of the innovation. But what I personally think, and this is related to the concept of tradition, who needs to be betrayed, is that the popular culture, a culture in general, is fluid and must be kept fluid in that way, because this is the only way in which the culture can be transmitted to the newest generation. And of course, there will come some changes, there will come some times in which we will feel lost or whatever, but it is necessary, because this is the only way in which a culture can be kept alive. Otherwise, it becomes, I don't know, things for museums. You look at that, you know perfectly what they are, but they are dead, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow, that is a perfect way to end this conversation session. Both on a very dramatic ending and also time-wise. So, Marco, I want to say thank you very much for taking your time to tell us about Commedia dell'arte here. I hope
and
that...
thank you to you for taking your time talking about Danish contemporary system, and also for taking the how can I say it, the charge of the hosting. Of the hosting.
keeping track of
absolutely
time,
not easy.
So it's important to say for everybody watching at home that thank you very much for joining, and our next session in this GOAT project will be on Sunday, where we will have two festival founders joining us for the talk. It's a festival founder from Hungary. I need to find my notes here so I say all the right thing. Yeah, so it's a festival founder from Hungary called Peter. He has founded International Dance Week Budapest, and then it's another festival founder from Spain called Samuel, and he has founded Festival Dances Mentanant. That was not so pretty said in the end, but join the talk on Sunday and get to know much more about what it takes to found a dance festival.
Looking forward
That's all
to it.
from me. What did you say?
Looking forward to it, to the next meeting.
Yeah, me too. So tune in on Sunday. My name is Martin. I'm the founder of Art Farm in Denmark, and with us we had Marco. And tell us where you are from again.
Yes, I'm from Italy, even though I'm based in Denmark, and the founder and the director, together with Anna Penati of the Human Lab company.
That's all from here. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.